Ramadan was different in college. So I had a very understanding coach team, but we used to train in the afternoon. The team runs around the track in a group, and the guy in the back has to sprint to the front. Now, what happens if somebody starts to tire out? Now the line starts getting really long, so now the sprints get harder for everybody.
Okay.
Right?
So the incentive is to keep up.
Yeah, you got to keep up. You don't want to be the guy that's like back here and you just keep doing that. I told my coach, I was like, I'm fasting. How do we do this? He said, okay, why don't you train in the morning? So they're like, yeah, train with the basketball team. So they were just doing weights. And one time, one of my teammates is like, man, they're just running us too much or whatever. And I didn't really say much. But then they found out that I was just doing weights.
Welcome to a podcast with the Strength Dojo. I'm your host, Bilal Khan, coming at you from Dallas, Texas. I am here with Dr. Omar Husain, who is professionally, he works as a therapist, and we're going to be exploring experiences through fasting, Ramadan, and personal development through the scope of mental health and the other stuff that you've got going on. Dr. Omar Husain, PhD, you've played collegiate tennis, right?
Yeah.
And you've also studied traditionally abroad in Egypt in the Islamic sciences. Right. So you've kind of got the blend of all three of these things, where people typically spend the time to do only one of that. Let's start with the collegiate tennis. I'm assuming you also played in high school?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about that story. What got you into tennis?
What got me into tennis? That's a great question. So growing up, I was all about basketball. That was my first love. I was a really good shooter, alhamdulillah. And then it came time in high school to try out for the team. So I went to the summer camp, I tried out, and I thought I was going to make it, and I didn't make the team.
Okay.
And so my older brother, he said, you know, if you don't play a sport, then you're going to be a loser because you're going to have to take PE. So he's like, you gotta play a sport.
Yeah.
So I got cut, and I don't know, like, what am I supposed to play? Well, in the springtime, there's only a handful of sports that you can play. I wasn't really interested in baseball. Football wasn't really my thing. I didn't have much experience. I think I took tennis lessons a few times here and there. So I just started playing, and I started playing with a friend who was a really talented baseball player. And he was supposed to play for the team, but for some reason he started playing tennis and just didn't want to do that. Okay. So we played like every single day and just kind of taught ourselves. And then it came time for tryouts, and I made it, and I just kind of kept rolling with that throughout. Okay. Yeah.
Now, what is it about tennis that once you tried it, it was like, hey, I could do this?
I think it just kind of came naturally.
Okay.
You know, and it was once described as boxing without the blood. Remember this?
Okay.
I kind of like that, you know, the one-on-one challenge, but it was also team, so it was really cool in that you get a blend of both.
How does the team factor play in?
Yeah, so it's an individual sport, but then like if there's 9 different positions and they add up everybody, you know, like if 3 guys win and 3 guys lose, the team then gets a point for
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, when I'm thinking team and tennis, I'm thinking like when they do doubles.
Yeah, so you play singles and doubles.
Yeah.
Right, but that counts for points.
Okay.
To the overall thing.
Okay.
So they've kind of taken it and put it together.
Now, how well do the skills that you developed in tennis translate over to badminton and ping pong?
So I always struggled because in table tennis, let's say, you're kind of slapping, like, and if you use that little racket and then you go back to the tennis racket, it always used to mess me up.
Okay, so it's a different motor skill altogether.
There's some overlap, but I just, you know, because you're slapping the ball when you're playing that, and I had difficulty adjusting to going back and forth.
What about with badminton? That's the old DC.
I don't think I ever
really
played badminton.
There's also the sudden rise of pickleball,
yes,
which I've never played pickleball.
Yeah.
I've always found it as the sport for non-athletes to feel athletic, and I wanted to know your take on pickleball.
I think I have a internal struggle with playing pickleball.
Okay.
Because I'm like, it's like for people that can't really play tennis. And there's a low barrier to entry. I agree with that, you know, but I feel like there's got to be something. Like, you can't just roll up out of your office and, like, having never done anything and just all of a sudden start playing.
Now, is it safe to say that pickleball is table tennis but on a bigger court?
Sort of.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
But now you're running, so you break a sweat.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You make yourself feel better. And surgeons and orthopedic surgeons love it because there's so many injuries that people get
Okay.
because they think, I'll just jump in here and play it.
Okay.
So that
Yeah.
we see that too.
Now, speaking of injuries, what has your experience been with tennis?
As far as getting injured?
Yeah.
I've had some nagging injuries. I actually had a knee injury in college.
Okay.
Which
From tennis?
I think it was, just wear and tear.
Okay.
So it was like a strain. So I used to get the treatment and,
Okay.
and everything. But what was funny is that they used to run us into the ground.
Oh, in terms of the practice?
In terms
really?
of the, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there with I'm just hanging out and I'm just watching them just kill themselves and go. And I almost had to avoid eye contact when they would come because I'm just relaxing. So,
Now, but what have you experienced outside of yourself, like maybe from through observation that people might have struggled with as tennis injuries and things like that?
so the thing is, like with tennis, you can tell within like a minute if somebody really knows how to play
Okay.
in terms of technique.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm certainly not making comparisons, but like in football, you could, you always had that guy like couldn't play, like
Sure.
a friend going up, but you say, hey, just run, right?
Yeah,
Or he
yeah.
could hit somebody. So
Yeah.
he can kind of hide a little bit of how he can do it, right? Or even in basketball, just run up and down the court. We'll just never pass you the ball. But why is it the guy that can't really play always shoots every time he gets the ball? I don't understand that. But so you can kind of hide it a little bit, but in tennis, like you're gonna know immediately.
Okay.
And so when the form, like tennis elbow, this is a thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Some
yeah.
people just slapping the ball, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes to look at it.
Okay. Now, and this is one of the things that I was curious about is so the injury or the nagging issue of a tennis elbow,
Yeah.
you'll find prevalent in many sports,
Yep.
whether it's just weightlifting, martial arts, whether it's wrestling, striking, jiu-jitsu, but they always called it either a tennis elbow or a golfer's elbow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And now I always found in my case, like whenever it flares up, it's usually something to do with my scapula or my back. But I was wondering, like, what have you dealt with it, and is it like how do you address it for yourself?
Yeah. I did. I think early on, I attribute it to just poor technique.
Okay.
For example, if you're hitting the ball, you don't hit with your hand.
Right.
It's actually the hips that are generating the power. But
Right.
if you look at it, people think that when you're just hitting with a hand, right? So that's going
Okay.
to put a lot of stress on.
Okay.
there.
Okay. It's like even in baseball, right? When they're trying to hit the ball,
Yeah, they're not just swinging from here. It's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
coming
yeah.
from here. Once you fix that, that's gonna get the torque from the bottom. That makes a huge difference. And then just getting stronger.
Okay.
You got to build up the muscles, build up the forearms. Tennis players are notorious. Like one arm is. I used to have it a lot more prevalent, but like my right arm is a lot bigger than the left because
Okay.
you're using the racket all the
Okay.
time. Yeah.
Do you find that there are people who try to be ambidextrous with tennis?
It's very rare, but I do remember there used to be a professional team actually.
Yeah.
They played for a little while, and he could actually switch hands
Okay.
and serve it, but it's not very common.
It's not common because, like in basketball, the flex is that you can dribble on both sides,
Right.
right? So, but again, it's not a regular thing.
Right. No, yeah, they're not
Okay.
coming down.
So it would be a straight flex if you can do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
When it came to high school, what's the strongest memory of playing tennis, getting on the team during the month of Ramadan?
I just rolled with it like it was everything else. I just didn't take a water break.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't even think anybody knew I was fasting.
Did you find any of it difficult, or you're just like whatever?
To be honest, no.
Okay.
No, you just kind of go through it. Maybe because the fast was shorter.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm also playing in California, temperate climate. It wasn't
Okay.
like
You're not dealing with
Texas
extreme
heat
heat
something.
or cold.
No.
Okay.
No. So I think maybe it was just the time and that, but I didn't even give a second thought. I just kind of
Okay.
went out there.
I just remember my high school, my freshman year, part of the football team. Now the season is about to start, and we go into gym class, but this is like weightlifting gym class. And I go up to the coach. I'm like, hey, it's Ramadan, I'm fasting, so I'm gonna sit out. And he looks at me, and he goes, I've had champions walk through these halls, and they were fasting in Ramadan, so you're participating today. I'm like, okay. No, okay. How am I supposed to argue that, right?
Yeah.
And so, what's interesting is that like that attitude kind of stuck with me. And it's funny, the gym teacher, he's not Muslim, right? And he's just like, there's no big deal. Who cares if you're fasting, right?
Yeah.
Like you can still do what you need to do. And it's interesting though, because now like that same attitude, but in like regular life, and you see And when other people hear that, oh, you're fasting, that's crazy,
Yeah.
right? And it's just like, they didn't think so, right? And so I was just wondering, like, as you progress from high school to college, right? How much more intense did the training get?
Ramadan was different in college.
Okay,
It
I wanted to
it
know
was
about that.
different. And when Ramadan came around in college, so I had a very understanding coach team, but we used to train in the afternoon, right? So now you go, you do all your classes, and now you're coming at the end. And that was very heavily, like, there's just a lot of running and sprinting off
Lot of-
of the court.
Okay,
Right?
that's
The court is like the
condition.
easier
Yeah,
part,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
We used to do this thing, it's probably not politically correct to use the term, but I'll use it anyway. They used to call it Indian run,
Okay.
where basically the team runs around the track in a group, and the guy in the back has to sprint to the front, and the
Okay.
line keeps going. Now, what happens if somebody starts to tire out? Now the line starts getting really long, so now the sprints get harder for everybody,
Okay.
right?
So the incentive is to keep up.
Yeah, you got to keep up. You don't want to be the guy that's like back here and people, and you just keep doing that. That was
Well, the
very.
front person could slow it down.
You try to get some tricks in there for
Okay,
sure.
okay.
You know, but usually like you're trying to win and improve, so you don't really find guys dogging it like that. Like
Okay.
they're gonna go and they're gonna push you.
Okay.
Go.
Okay.
So I told my coach, I was like, I'm fasting. How do we do this? He said, okay, why don't you train in the morning? So I went in the morning, but in the morning they didn't have me with who I was supposed to be with. They had me like the basketball team.
Okay.
So they're like, yeah, train with the basketball team. So they were just doing weights.
Okay. That's great.
So for months, I'm doing weights,
Yeah.
and my team is just doing these. And one time, one of my teammates is like, man, they're just running us too much or whatever. And I didn't really say much. But then they found out that I was
They were at the back.
I was just doing weights, and
Yeah.
then I got back with the team.
Okay.
But yeah, that would have been too much to do.
Yeah, I would imagine, because it's like the time of year that Ramadan is taking place when you were in high school versus when you were in college is probably shifted a little bit.
Right.
And now, granted, you're in Southern California, right?
College was in Chicago.
Oh, college was in Chicago. So now, are these like longer days?
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
It was chill.
Okay.
Yeah. Weather-wise and I remember sometimes being in class and it'd be like, oh, it's time to break the fast.
Okay.
You know.
So like,
So that's also what made it kind of tricky. Like if you're starting practice at 2 and the fast is like 4:30 or something, like carries over, it gets kind of weird.
yeah.
It's not like you just break your fast and then you nourish yourself.
Right.
So it got kind of complicated like that.
Did you play tennis all through college?
Well, I went to University of Illinois Chicago on a scholarship.
How do scholarships typically work for sports? Is it that you're required to participate and play, and then they pay for school? Is that what it does?
So there's different levels of scholarships.
Okay.
So alhamdulillah, I got in kind of late because I didn't even think about playing in college.
Okay.
So I was able to have my tuition covered.
Okay.
But some of my other teammates who got in a little bit earlier, who recruited earlier,
Yeah.
they were able to get, for example, tuition and housing,
Oh, okay.
right? Tuition, housing, and books. In fact, we had a really smart team, like GPA wise.
Okay.
I think 3 of them
I
went
mean,
on.
tennis players are typically known to be smart people.
That seems to be true.
Like tennis players, track folk.
Yeah.
Whereas football and basketball, like they need the sport to go to college. Whereas in the sense, like, do you need the sport for school or? But so yeah, you have a smart team. So so the level of the scholarship is depending on what's covered.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so if you are like a top-notch, highly recruited player, you're
Yeah.
gonna get everything. It's like our top player, he got everything. He got the housing, scholarship, tuition, books.
Gotcha.
Others also got a nice slice of the pie, but because they were earlier in the recruiting cycle.
Okay.
I even had one who was, again, we had a smart team. He was, not only did he have everything covered, he actually used to get money back because he also had academic scholarships, right? So it's like, okay.
So he's double dipping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Condition is that you play throughout, and that's those scholarships basically. That's how it works.
Yeah. I mean, even if you get injured or something, it's like it's okay. They don't really take it away from you unless you violate, ethical standards or something like that.
Maybe not in tennis, but I know it's pretty popular in the South. For like college football is huge.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like sponsor huge.
Yep.
Right? And so I was just wondering if there's any aspect of that in collegiate tennis?
So I wouldn't say that, because like if you're 15, 16 and you're an elite player, you're going to go to the professional ranks
Okay.
and start playing at the lower professional ranks.
Okay.
So like guys like, so in college we're 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
They're already playing on the professional circuit. Like,
Okay.
because it's a sport where you start early, not at like 14 like I did. You
Okay.
start early and then you go to the professional ring if you're at that elite level.
Okay.
You don't really go to college. That's not the common pathway to playing professionally. Whereas in basketball and football, that's the pathway. You don't go to the NFL when you're 16 years old. You're not competing against grown.
You're too small.
You
You're gonna get squished.
wouldn't last.
Yeah,
You wouldn't last.
But like there are basketball players sometimes turn 18 and
That's true. Yeah, and that happened more, but still the norm is not that players go from high school to the NBA, right?
Yeah,
They still play a
even
year
Michael Jordan had
and
to play college basketball.
Right. Yeah. And then and everybody, like the league kind of has, and when it gets younger, now you're not competing necessarily against people that are like 33 years old, right? Because so many are coming in that are younger.
Were you the only Muslim, or were there?
I was the only Muslim.
Does that ever play into kind of like going into the psychology of it? Any identity factors or like?
I was, alhamdulillah, I was a practicing Muslim.
Okay. You say that in air quotes. You might have to define that.
Yeah. So alhamdulillah, like I prayed 5 times a day. I knew
Sure.
I was Muslim.
Okay.
I didn't party and do things like that. So
Okay.
I clearly knew who I was.
Sure.
Whereas in high school, I still didn't do those things necessarily, but I wasn't like the maturity that you have
Okay.
when you go into college.
Well, you're a high school kid.
Yeah. And so, maybe you don't say certain things or you're not as vocal.
Sure.
Right? Just because you're just kind of by yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty normal.
Okay.
But in college, it was different. So my teammates knew I was Muslim, and there would be certain team rituals and things that I just wouldn't participate in. So there was this one, when we used to take a team trip to Colorado, everybody had to go to this one club.
Okay.
That was like the thing, like no matter what, even like the nerdy guy who's never playing,
Yeah.
who's on the roster, he still has to go.
Okay.
And so I remember we were sitting.
Was it like a nightclub or?
I think, yeah, it was like some Western cowboy themed club or something, like, because they would always just talk about this name, like, hey, when we go to Colorado, you gotta do that. So we were all sitting there, and then there's always that one guy. He's like not gonna let anybody not go.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there. He's like, he was talking to another one of my teammates, and so he says, "Okay, we got a verbal commitment. Everybody's going. We're leaving at 9." He's like, "Except for," and he looks at me. He's like, "Can you go, Omar, or is it an impossibility?" I said, "You know the answer." He said, "Okay, cool. We'll see you tomorrow."
Okay.
So they went. So there were things like that happened.
Okay.
But they respected me.
Okay. It wasn't something that they hold against you.
Oh, not at all. No.
Or haze you for.
No, I think people respect if you have principles.
Okay.
Right. My principles were being Muslim.
Okay.
So no, there was none of that stuff was going on.
Man, you know what's funny? Like I remember when in high school on the football team. So I played freshman and JV first year, and playing through Ramadan as well.
Yeah.
And the ones who would troll me the most were the Muslims who were not fasting. Like they'd open up a bag of Doritos. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? It's always weird. It's like your own people are always the one that
Putting ourselves down.
Yeah.